So again, welcome guys to this webinar session of Safe Scrum Master, I mean, I would say rather mastering the Safe Scrum Master slash team coach role and strategies for the success, right? So before I jump on to the discussion on this entire thing, which as a Scrum Master, we all understand that it's very vital for us to understand how to make sure that we are always striving for the success that we are seeking for, right? So just a quick introduction about myself, and then I can try to take it from there. So my name is Varun Dhani. I'm a business agility coach in terms of industry experience. So I carry an experience of 18, 19 odd plus years now. I've delivered sessions on various topics, but primarily now I've been trying to focus largely on the agile part, right? So I've delivered again sessions worldwide. I've delivered sessions with Deva Dubai, KNPC there in Kuwait. Then I've delivered sessions at BT Telecom, NHK Springs, Oyo Tolgay there in Mongolia, right? So that was a quick introduction about me. And also you can just take a quick kind of brief about my experience as an business agility coach, right? So that, okay. So now beginning with the first slide, not even the first slide, I would say, mastering the subject rather. So mastering the Safe Scrum Master team coach role, right? Now, one thing which I would like to address out here before I jump on to the discussion of this entire session is that I would like to kind of talk about the slides presentation for next 30 minutes from now, and post 9:30 p.m. IST, I would be welcoming any questions that you might have. Also, in case you have any questions, you are welcome to kind of write those questions in the chat box in between, and I will try to take it from there. Yeah. Another thing which I wanted to highlight out here is recently, probably in somewhere in March, I would say March or April, Safe was having their version as 5.1. But again, as I mentioned, in March or April, they launched their new version called Safe 6.0. And while they launched their new version, so specifically, I'm trying to talk about the Scrum Master role, Safe Scrum Master role rather. So they have termed the terminology for Safe Scrum Master or the terminology of Agile Coach to be of Safe Scrum Master slash team coach, right? So that's one of the very vital thing that you are supposed to take care of as we move forward. Yeah. And sure, I mean, as the main highlight is or main kind of topic for today's session is strategies for success, right? So again, over a period of time, while I've been trying to deliver the trainings on safe part or safe domain, right? So I've realized that also this comes from many of the practical experiences from the audience to whom I have coached and mentored so far. So I've seen that people are, even after they have 20, 25 years of experience, right, in IT industry or in various roles, and some in Scrum Masters role, they are still struggling with how to look out for what are the key strategies that should be implemented, basis which the value delivery to your customer does not get hampered and is being pretty much taken care of. Yeah. Okay. So now beginning with the slide itself. So this is how we are going to kind of maintain the flow of the session. First is we are going to talk a bit about Safe Scrum, then the Safe Scrum Master, followed by must-have skills. Those are required for a Safe Scrum Master. What are the responsibilities of your Safe Scrum Master? And then lastly, we would be talking about the strategies for success. Yeah. Okay. So moving on to the first topic, Safe Scrum. What is it? Right. So as we have been trying to talk about the Safe Scrum Master, so first let's try to understand what does the term Safe Scrum means to us. So Safe Scrum is typically an agile method which is being used by your teams within an art. An art, when I call art, so art is your agile release train. That is a combination of multiple small agile teams. one crucial thing about art is this is a cross-functional team. Why cross-functional team? The reason being that you talk about any organization, right? Any organization which is growing from a startup to a large organization, each organization is maintaining a hierarchy within their respective culture. Now, when we are trying to talk about the hierarchy part, that's where the trouble starts. Trouble starts in a different sense, and that is what we are referring to the silos. And basis your silos, your value creation is getting stopped or getting decreased, and that's where art as in virtual organization plays a very important role. Not only the art, as I mentioned, art is a group of combination of multiple small agile teams. So you can imagine the kind of criticality agile teams need to deliver at that period, particular art. Yeah. So again, so that's Safe Scrum is your typical agile method that we are referring to. Now, while we talk about Safe Scrum teams and their methods, right? So in Safe Scrum, teams have various options which they can use in order to deliver the customer value, right? So let's try to talk about those. One is iterations. Then we have Kanban systems, and third being your Scrum events, right? So iterations and Kanban systems plays a very crucial role when we talk about your Safe Scrum. Iterations are what? Iterations is a typically 2 weeks of one iteration is of typically of 2 weeks in which your agile team is working. While I talk about the Kanban system, so Kanban is a visualization tool which talks about how much tasks we are supposed to begin with, how much are there in between, and how much we are done with, right? So that's a typical visualization tool. But also, while we talk about Kanban systems, when we try to kind of apply the WIP limits, right? So that gives us a different whole context or a more better picture to take a more deeper look in terms of how we are trying to deliver the value. Make sense? Okay. So moving to the next slide, which is your Scrum Master / Team Coach. As I just mentioned in CF6, your Agile Coach is now being termed as Scrum Master / Team Coach work. As again, you can see here on screen, so the Scrum Master or a Team Coach is a servant leader, coach for an Agile team. Now he is a kind of individual who needs to make sure that Agile team is delivering the customer value as being required, because Agile team is one of the teams which is very much closely working to the user desired functionality, right? So if things are getting hampered at the Agile level, then you can imagine the approach of Agile or the incremental approach that we are trying to talk about in the safe context is of no use, right? So that's one of the crucial things, rather, I would say, a safe Scrum Master performs in his or her role. Facilitator of team events and processes, right? So while he is coaching your respective Agile team, you need to facilitate team events and processes as well. Again, that needs to be kind of a very proactive approach that a Scrum Master needs to have. Supporting the teams and arts and delivering the values. That's absolutely, I would say, perfect line from the safe Scrum Master's role. So what we are trying to say is your Agile team, your Scrum Master, and the product owner. So in a typical layman sense, if I have to explain, these are the roles which are working at the shop floor level of the entire, say, big picture, or you talk about the entire, say, Agile framework, right? Now, why I'm saying is this, because as I just mentioned, your Agile teams, Scrum Master are working to the user desired functionality. Once they are done with that, they are indirectly supporting your arts, because art is a multiple combination of your Agile teams, right? So if performance or value is getting hampered at the agile team level, or where at the agile team level you have the scrum master, if the performance is getting hampered at that level, you can imagine what are the consequences that entire respective art PI planning will have. Yeah. And then of course, yes, he or she is again assisting the team in meeting their delivery goals every now and then. Yeah. Okay, so next is safe scrum master, team coach. What are the skills required? And so it's very crucial for you to understand, if you are planning to kind of seek your career from long-term perspective in a safe scrum master role, you need to understand what are the skill sets required. And not only this, so there are two ways I look at this thing. So one is like you have certain qualities you come up with naturally, right? Second kind of qualities you are trying to develop, right? So nobody else better than you know if you have those skill sets or not. Yeah. And so here we have the must-have skills with respect to Scrum Master. So this is where we have empathetic, right? So again, being human or being more empathetic to your agile team members. If you're not that kind of person which is not very much need to help others, or I mean, let's say if you are a kind of person, you are only looking from the work to be done, but on some day, let's say some agile team member is facing some issues with respect to their personal life, and if you are not much more interested in knowing about those and trying to tackle how we can resolve those particular things, and then basis which that respective individual can be taken care of from the professional career perspective. So I would simply suggest that you might look out for some other role, because being a scrum master, you need to understand your respective team members at each and every level, right? So that's one of the very critical things. Servant leader, again, he or she should be more of a persuasive kind of individual rather than making an authority, right? So you are not supposed to be a typical dictator while you are trying to get the work done, but rather more having a persuasive nature, basis which things becomes much easier. And mind you, I've seen this happening in my case, right? So each quality that is mentioned out here is a must from the safe Scrum Master perspective. Mentor, needless to say, I mean, basis your experience, you are able to guide your respective team members. So at times, I received kind of questions from the participants in my past to whom I've trained, right, so over the years. So they say that, Varun, it's very hard to kind of mentor at some point of time when you don't have that respective knowledge to what your agile team members are looking at, right? So my suggestion at that particular period of time is, like always, is try to look at the process level, right? So do not get kind of into the tech part of that process or that respective problem, but try to see how you can help your agile team members from the process part. If you are able to fine tune the processes or the parameters which are hampering their respective work, then I think we have done a good job. Okay, next couple of more skill sets that we can try to talk about is support team members, conflict navigator, right? So this is again one of the very crucial things while you are working with a team, like an agile team. So obviously you need to have the team members, and when you have team members, there might be some issues every now and then between the different colleagues, right? How you are going to resolve them. Again, this bottom line is, most of the times people don't understand whatever the challenges as a scrum master you are facing, better to write down those challenges on a piece of paper along with a pen, right? Then try to analyze the data. And I'm pretty much sure while you are listing those problems, you have that data in the visual form, it becomes much more easier to rightly look out the parameter which is making that problem in a large one. Yeah. And then the last one, which is coach. So your Scrum Master or team coach understand and educates your teams on the methods beyond Scrum, such as safe, Kanban, flow, built-in quality, and more. And this is again the same thing which I just quoted, right? So while you are trying to coach your respective team, make sure you're always talking about built-in quality practices, flow, and Kanban systems. Only if you talk about, let's say, safe Kanban and built-in quality, I would say still you have good chances to make sure your each and every problem which you are having is going to resolve, right? So it gives a number of different approach to take a more deep dive with the help of these two tools. I would suggest, yeah. Okay, so guys, I'm having some questions in between, so let me just take those on a quick basis, right? So, okay, so the first question is, let me just try to talk about this. So the first question is, how does the safe Scrum Master role differ when working with distributed or remote agile teams? And what are the specific challenges to address in these scenarios? Okay, good. Okay, so one of the things which I would like to talk about is while you are working with distributed or remote agile teams, right? So we can always use collaborative tools. Not only this, but also the video conferencing or a regular, we can try to conduct the regular team meetings and conferences. Yeah. So I hope that answered the question. Another question which I have in front of me is, in large organizations, how can Safe Scrum Master effectively handle impediments that arise at both the team level and the agile release chain or the art level? Now, again, this is a good question. So my answer to this would be like, your Safe Scrum Master role is a combination of servant leadership and proactive collaboration, right? So they should always work with your team members to address internal impediments. So that's one of the best way which I've realized over again many years to kind of come up with these kind of problems to be addressed. So guys, I'm assuming I've answered your question. Okay, so I'm now kind of moving to the next slide. So which is responsibilities of your safe Scrum Master / team coach. Now, again, typically we have many responsibilities, but I'm going to talk about the 5 most critical out here in this webinar. First one being facilitating the PI planning, right? So PI planning, as most of you would be already aware of, in safe context, PI planning is a 2 days of event, right? Another thing which I would like to highlight over here is that your PI entire program enter or the PI in itself is a kind of having a time box of 8 to 12 weeks or typically 10 weeks. And in one PI, we have 5 iterations, right? So in one PI, we have 5 iterations. You can imagine how critical and how important the role of iterations are. If we are not doing good, again, in terms of value delivery at the iteration level, that is going to directly impact the art level, and that is going to further impact your PR level as well. So just imagine how critical your iterations are. And at the iteration, as I mentioned, we have agile teams, Scrum Masters, and the product owner. Right? So this also highlights how crucial the role of Scrum Master is. Yeah. talking about the second responsibility, so supporting the iteration execution. Needless to say about this. So it goes well in the role of Scrum Master, right? So since he or she is already maintaining the agile team at the iteration level, so the entire value delivery at the iteration level is being taken care of by your respective Scrum Master or the team coach. Not only this, while they are taking care of the execution level, so by default, they are also trying to improve the flow of your value. Then next is building high performing teams, right? So again, that's one of the very crucial thing that a Scrum Master, or I would say, Scrum Master do, right? So building high performing teams is not something very easy. You have a number of different individuals, a number of different mindsets, a number of ways of working, right? How do you create those teams to deliver the value? So we'll talk about this in next one of the coming slides. Improving art performance, which I just mentioned. If you are doing good at the art level, if you are doing good at the iteration level, you are doing good at the art level. So it is directly or indirectly supporting your art teams as well. Yeah. So Scrum Master serving at the iteration level and making sure that iteration is good, and which will direct impact the art performance. Yeah. Okay. So I have a few more questions, right? So let me just try to take those. Okay, so Jonathan has asked, what is the best way to show the team the benefits of Agile? Okay, perfect. Good question, Jonathan. So one of the, I would say, one of the best ways that we are able to kind of show the team benefits of Agile would be like, try to talk about the scenarios where, or let me just try to answer this in more simpler sense. We have typically two models. One is a waterfall model that we are already aware of. Second is Agile, right? So while we talk about the waterfall model, you have the value being created in the last, right? So no matter what, if your customer change requests are also coming in, then also your value delivery is being delivered at the last. Whereas if you talk about the Agile part, so that's where you're trying to talk about showing some process improvement or some value creation or some increments at every level or in a very small increments, right? So you can try to talk about any example. So even if I talk about a small student who is studying in a nursery class, right? So I can't kind of, if we go back 50 years back, the way we used to get taught, and the way these days the kids are getting trained. So if you realize their learning is also becoming an agile in nature. So that means on one day, teacher will deliver a certain kind of chapter. Next day, that would be added as an increment. In an agile manner, they are making sure that children are learning in a small chunks rather than just giving one full chapter. So maybe they can approach with one paragraph on each day. Next day, they can increment that by one more. Third day, they can increment by that one more, right? So that way is the best way to look at any of the respective problems. In fact, if you talk about any complex problems that you might have faced either in your personal life or in professional life, right? So with respect to any of the respective problems from the official context or the project context, it is always advised that try to look or approach problems in a smaller chunks. Once you are trying to solve the smaller chunks, then automatically your big chunk would be taken care of. So Jonathan, I hope I've already kind of answered your question. Okay, so then we have a couple of more. So let me just take quickly one. So what are some successful strategies? Okay, so this is, just give me 1 second. Yeah. So what are some successful strategies for promoting a culture of continuous improvement? within the art and encouraging feedback from the team members. Okay, perfect. So one of the things, again, safe Scrum Masters can do, or they can facilitate regular retrospectives, right? So they can kind of facilitate regular retrospectives and encourage open and honest feedback from their team members. That's one of the things which I would like to kind of talk about. Okay, so moving on to the next slide. So I will take the question in next few minutes now. Let me just try to finish with the slides. Okay, so mastering the safe Scrum Master team coach role. Now, these are your strategies for the success, which I've seen and I've kind of advised to many people who have been into industry for a longer period of time. Again, as I mentioned right there initially as well, being more human, right? So you are working with humans, your agile team members are human. You need to understand each and every perspective, be it a part of their professional lives or their personal lives. I would also suggest like to recommend one thing that again, each one of us goes through at some stage with good or bad phase in our lives, right? Make sure you are supporting your agile team members in their bad part. And then the professional front would be automatically taken care of. And that's something I've seen, I've discussed with many individuals who have been the Scrum Masters, and I've suggested them to do this. The more good human you become, the more easier it becomes for n number of different parameters. Your team members would start enjoying working with you, right? So they will come to you for each and every problem they can try to discuss. Basis that you can build a good performing, high performing teams, right? You can also encourage them to be a good leader out there. So, and that being the very next point, changing your mindset, right? A Scrum Master would only become more successful while he or she are making sure they are kind of benefiting, or they are making sure that their respective agile team members are also growing with them. So that means as a Scrum Master, you need to have a growth mindset. Not only this, but also start looking for team members who are having a growth mindset. When a team member is having a growth mindset, they also encourage their other teams or other team members to travel on the same path. It becomes much easier to work with these kind of professionals. I understand that this might kind of appear to a very kind of theoretical approach, but on the other side, if I talk from the practical perspective, what we can also do is, let's say you have 10 members team, and if you have 4 or 5 members who are having a growth mindset, the rest of them are not having a growth mindset. Make sure your team combination is having a good weightage of individuals who are carrying a growth mindset. That will influence the people who are having the fixed mindset. And basis that, you can simply kind of come up with a good build high performing team. Yeah, I hope this makes sense to you all. And to the last of the slide, which is Kanban and WIP limit, which I again mentioned initially as well. So Kanban is one of the excellent visualization tools that we can always look at. No matter whatever kind of problem that you are having, I would strongly recommend go to the Kanban tool, try to put down your steps of a process in that, and then try to see what is going wrong. You will clearly able to see if the work in process is getting hampered at large. And if work in process or your WIP limit is getting hampered at large, so that means it's time for you as a Scrum Master to make sure your WIP limits are coming down in nature, basis your respective agile team members. So you again, one kind of quick recommendation or one quick strategy which I would like to mention out here is that we all have the respective pressures on us to deliver the value. But I understand that. But at the same time, we need to make sure the agile team members with whom we are working, we are not quoting or giving them a false promise, right? So let them estimate their own work, help them whenever possible. Make sure you are not pushing, but allowing themselves to pull and come up with stating that I can deliver this task in this amount of time. And this is how I'm kind of planning it, right? So WIP limits and Kanban actually boost your built-in quality practice at large. And when your built-in quality practice is being getting boosted at large, sorry, customer value is being taken care of, your customer satisfaction is being taken care of, your agile team member job satisfaction is being taken care of. And then again, directly, they are enjoying a lot more along with you as a Scrum Master. Yeah. Okay, so nice. It's time for a few more questions. So in case you have few more questions, I'm already having sort of the questions line up. So I would suggest you to kind of come up with your questions so that I can take a few questions and then try to kind of answer those. Okay, so one of the questions says, Kanban is a method and WIP limit is one of the rule under the Kanban. So yes, so I mean, I would say it's kind of, it's up to you. So again, it's a kind of rule, you can say yes, for sure. But again, from my past own experiences to the trainings which I have delivered in again on Safe Scrum Master so far. So what I've realized is, and understand from the audience perspective, if even if as in Scrum Master, you know about these tools and these rules, then also at times you are struggling on how to kind of land to the right problem or land to the right parameter which should get resolved our problem, right? And that's what is missing most of the times. So again, what I would strongly recommend is make a checklist of how critically you can kind of take a quick look at the checklist whenever you are stuck in a problem. And most of the time you will realize that the pointers which I just mentioned are the ones which are going to help you at large from Safe from Master Group. Yeah. Okay, so let me just take. Okay, so Remy asked me that what are the responsibilities, main responsibilities of the Scrum Masters, right? So, okay, so Remy, this we have already kind of discussed on the slide that I was trying to present, but again, just to kind of quickly remind you. So one is that they are making sure that they are working at the iteration, supporting the iteration execution, improving the flow, then improving the art performance as well. So art means your agile release train. So these are, I would say, three critical kind of responsibilities, main responsibilities of a Scrum Master. And also, I mean, I would like to add one more. So that is facilitating your PI planning. Yeah. So Remy, I hope that answers your question. Okay, so let me just take, we have a few more. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so the next question says, what are some practical approaches to handle situations where agile teams within art have different maturity levels, and how can the Scrum Master support each team's growth? Okay, so again, a good question. So I would like to kind of state this, that With respect to your safe Scrum Master, we can always tailor our coaching and support based on your team's maturity level, right? So again, team's maturity would vary from a context to context. Basis which you can always customize your kind of approach on how you are going to solve those problems. You can also try to organize workshops or any specific targeted training for this respective kind of situation. Yeah. So again, I hope I kind of answered the question. Okay, so guys, I would. Okay, so yep. So guys, that's it from my side for today's session or today's webinar, right? So and just to mention, so Acekube is one of the leading platforms for providing effective and practical training for your Scrum Masters and other Agile certifications that you are looking for. So we have kind of good discounts which are currently running on our website, and also there happens to be additional discount if you see out here on one of the codes that is there on the slide. So you can use that for availing a much more additional discount that we are already giving there on the website, right? So guys, that's it from my side. So in case you have any more questions to be asked, I'm here to answer. If not, we can try to close the session then. So I'm just waiting for another 5 minutes to see if we have more questions. If not, so we can kind of call it a day. And I hope you have enjoyed this session thoroughly, right? So also you can come back to us on your for any of the questions that you might have with respect to this particular session or any of the other contexts with respect to safe part. So you can reach out to us on contact@acekube.com, right? So and the team from us would be definitely coming back to you for answering any of your respective queries. Okay, so I think there is one last question. Okay, thank you so much, Henry. I hope this session helped you a lot.
Thanks, Varun. The session is very insightful. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks again. Guys, any more questions from anyone? Okay, so let's wait for a couple of more minutes and then we can try to close the session. Yeah. Meanwhile, if you have any questions or any doubts, I'm again trying to kind of write down the email ID. That's contact@acekube.com. So you can leave any of your queries on this particular mail ID and the team would definitely reach out to you back. Yeah. Okay, so guys, I'm assuming there are no more questions from anyone. So let's try to close this session. Again, thank you so much for your time, for coming for this particular session. And good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. Bye for now.